Hello there, my sleepy fellows. Welcome to another journey through the lands of Middle-earth, where ancient tales whisper through the winds and the echoes of history linger beneath moonlit skies. Tonight, let us wander through a story of honor and sacrifice, a tale that unfolds upon the rolling plains of Rohan, where the wind carries both the songs of past heroes and the murmurs of battles yet to come. The land of Rohan stands strong, yet shadows begin to stir beyond its borders. Forces unseen gather in the east, and whispers of an uncertain future weave through the halls of the Golden Hall, Meduseld. But for now, let us simply walk these fields, feeling the wind against our skin, the earth firm beneath our feet, and the promise of a story waiting to unfold. A gentle breeze drifts across the golden plains of Rohan, carrying with it the scent of wild grass and the distant sound of galloping horses. The stars shimmer like scattered jewels above the land, casting a soft glow over the hills and valleys. Tonight, dear sleepy fellows, we embark on a peaceful journey through the heart of Middle-earth, a tale of valor, wisdom, and destiny woven into the history of the land of Rohan. Nestled between the towering misty mountains and the rolling plains of the Riddermark, Rohan is home to proud horse lords and noble warriors, where the bond between rider and steed is stronger than steel. But beyond the echoes of galloping hooves and the warmth of flickering lanterns, a story unfolds, one of quiet preparation, of choices made beneath the weight of duty, and of the wisdom that guides even the bravest of hearts. Tonight, we follow the gentle yet firm hand of fate as it steers the course of Rohan's destiny. We shall witness the gathering of minds and the hushed whispers of council meetings, where great decisions are made in the dim glow of candlelight. We shall walk through the halls of Meduseld, where golden tapestries sway with the evening breeze, and where a king must make a choice that will shape the future of his people. But fear not, for this is not a tale of haste or turmoil, but one of reflection, of soft-spoken words exchanged in shadowed corridors, and of quiet yet unyielding courage. It is a journey of honor and sacrifice, seen not through the clamor of battle, but through the steady resolve that guides warriors long before swords are drawn. So, close your eyes and allow yourself to drift into the world of Middle-earth. Let the rhythmic cadence of the storyteller's voice lead you deeper into a realm where time slows and history is whispered through the winds of Rohan's vast plains. Before we begin, if you find peace in these stories, you are warmly invited to join this journey once more. Like, subscribe, and share these quiet tales so that together we may continue exploring the wonders of this world, carried gently upon the breath of ancient legends. The golden halls of Meduseld stand tall atop a gentle hill, their rooftops shimmering in the last light of the evening sun. The wooden beams, carved with the history of Rohan's greatest warriors, hum softly in the breeze that carries the scent of meadows and distant rain. Within the great hall, the glow of firelight flickers across tapestries that tell of the mighty horse lords who shaped this land. The long wooden tables, though mostly empty at this hour, hold the remnants of earlier feasts, a sign that this hall is often filled with laughter, song, and the warmth of kinship. At the far end of the room, seated upon a high wooden throne, is Théoden, King of Rohan. His face, lined with wisdom and wear, carries the burdens of leadership, though his sharp eyes still gleam with the fire of his ancestors. This is a man who has known peace, but also feels the whispers of unrest upon the horizon. His thoughts are troubled tonight, yet he speaks softly, his voice steady and measured, as he listens to those who have gathered before him. Among them stands Eomer, the king's loyal nephew, a warrior whose heart beats for Rohan with the strength of a galloping steed. His blonde hair, bound in braids, reflects the fire's glow as he speaks with quiet determination. His hands rest upon the hilt of his sword, not in a gesture of threat, but of readiness, a symbol of his unwavering duty. Beside him, leaning upon a wooden staff, is Gandalf the White, his presence both commanding and serene. The flickering light dances upon his silver robes, casting long shadows upon the stone floor. His expression is unreadable, though his piercing eyes hold the weight of knowledge far beyond that of mortal men. He has seen much, far more than those gathered in this room, and he carries the truth like a burden upon his shoulders. Yet, despite the solemnity of the moment, there is no urgency, only the steady unfolding of fate, like a river carving its path through the earth. The conversation drifts like the embers of the fire, the hushed tones of strategy, the careful weighing of risks, and the quiet acknowledgement of the unknown future that looms ahead. Outside, the land of Rohan stretches beneath a sky painted with the hues of twilight. The rolling plains, kissed by the golden light of the setting sun, breathe with life, their silence a stark contrast to the decisions being made within the hall. Horses stir in the stables, their quiet snorts carried by the wind. The sentinels upon the watchtower stand motionless, their gazes fixed upon the distant horizon, where the first stars begin to blink awake. This night, though peaceful, carries a weight upon its shoulders, a moment of stillness before the storm. Within Meduseld, among firelight and whispered counsel, Rohan's fate is being shaped not by the clashing of swords, but by the quiet resolve of those who would fight to protect it. The golden plains of Rohan stretched far and wide, bathed in the dying embers of a crimson sunset. The winds carried whispers of coming war, rustling through the tall grass, as if the very land could sense the storm gathering on the horizon. The quiet hum of daily life in Edoras, the capital of the horse lords, continued, yet unease loomed over its people. In the heart of Meduseld, the Golden Hall, King Théoden sat in solemn contemplation upon his grand wooden throne, his face carved with the weariness of rule. The hall, adorned with tapestries of Rohan's glorious past, flickered in torchlight as shadows danced upon the walls, silent echoes of a legacy now in peril. Eowyn, his noble niece, stood at his side, concern etched upon her fair features, for rumors had begun to spread. Saruman's forces were gathering, and dark omens whispered of war. At that very moment, a company of travelers rode through the vast fields of Rohan, their cloaks billowing behind them. At the front of the company was a man of noble stature, garbed in worn leather and traveling gear, Aragorn, son of Arathorn. Beside him, a tall and regal elf, Legolas, moved with the effortless grace of the firstborn. Behind them, the stout and unyielding Gimli, his thick beard swaying as his pony carried him forward. At their helm rode Gandalf the White, his brilliant robes reflecting the fading sunlight. They had come to warn Théoden of the danger that crept closer, an army bred for destruction, marching under the banner of Saruman, the betrayer. As the Riders of Rohan approached the group, spears raised in challenge, the lead warrior, a man clad in the armor of the Marshal of the Mark, gazed at them with suspicion. This was Éomer, son of Éomund, a warrior who had spent his days defending the lands from raiding orcs. "State your purpose, travelers," he commanded, his voice unwavering. Gandalf lowered his hood, revealing his piercing eyes beneath thick white brows. "We come with tidings of war," he declared. "Rohan stands upon the edge of shadow. Will you turn away allies in your time of need?" Recognition flickered in Éomer's gaze. He had heard tales of Mithrandir, the wandering wizard who had long counseled the kings of men. Without another word, he turned his horse, signaling his men to escort the company toward Edoras. As they ascended the steep hill toward Meduseld, they saw a kingdom in decline. Villagers whispered anxiously, the watchmen bore weary expressions, and the once mighty stronghold now seemed haunted by an unseen force. Something was amiss within these hallowed halls. Upon entering, they found Théoden slumped in his throne, his face aged beyond his years, his once golden hair now brittle and pale. Beside him stood Grima Wormtongue, his dark robes pooling around him like a serpent coiled beside its prey. His voice, soft and insidious, dripped with deceit. "My king," Grima drawled, "these wanderers bring only falsehoods and foolish fears. There is no war, no shadow, only the whispers of frightened men." But Gandalf was not deceived. He raised his staff, his presence a beacon of defiance against the decay that clung to the hall. "Your poison has taken root long enough, Wormtongue," he said, his voice like thunder. "Now be gone from this house, for your master's hold is broken." As if a veil had been lifted, Theoden's eyes cleared, his cheeks straightened, and color returned to his features. The spell of Saruman had been broken. The king, once bent and broken, now stood tall, his strength rekindled like a flame long smothered. He turned to Wormtongue, his expression dark with fury. "Be gone," he commanded. "You are no longer of Rohan." Grima fled, his cloak snapping behind him like the tail of a fleeing rat. With Theoden restored, he wasted no time. Rohan had been idle for too long. War was coming, and his people had to be ready. "Gather our riders," he ordered. Sound the horns. We ride to Helm's Deep." Across the villages and outposts, riders were sent to summon the men of Rohan. Blacksmiths worked through the night, reforging swords that had long been hung upon walls, and young boys trained beside hardened warriors. Even the elderly took up bows, ready to defend their homeland should the need arise. In the midst of these preparations, Aragorn found Éowyn, standing alone near the great stables, a blade in her hands. She practiced her swordplay in solitude, striking at an invisible foe with fierce determination. "You fight well," Aragorn noted as he approached. Éowyn lowered her sword, her eyes filled with frustration. "Yet, I am to remain behind. My place is in battle, not in waiting." Aragorn regarded her with quiet understanding. "There is no dishonor in protecting your people." She did not answer, but the fire in her eyes remained. The horns of Rohan sounded through the night, echoing across the plains as the riders began their journey toward Helm's Deep. Hundreds of warriors rode in formation, their banners flying high, their faces grim with determination. Theoden led them, his golden armor shining beneath the moonlight. But darkness was already at their heels. Scouts returned with grim tidings. Saruman's army was on the move. Tens of thousands of Uruk-hai, bred for war, marched toward Rohan's last stronghold, their torches stretching like an endless river of fire. Gandalf, ever the watchful eye, sensed a desperate need. "There is one hope," he told Theoden. "Ride to Helm's Deep, hold the line, I shall return." Before the king could protest, the wizard had already galloped away upon Shadowfax, disappearing into the night. "What does he mean to do?" Éomer asked. Aragorn's gaze lingered upon the distant hills. "He seeks aid, and we must hold until he arrives." And so they rode, their destination clear, their resolve unshaken. The fate of Rohan would be decided at Helm's Deep. The night deepens as Éomer and his riders follow Gandalf's lead, moving swiftly across the plains of Rohan. The smoldering village fades into the distance, but its ruin lingers in their minds, a grim reminder of the darkness that creeps across the land. The young survivor rides alongside Éomer, his hands trembling as he clutches the reins of a borrowed horse. Though his voice has been quiet since they left, his eyes dart anxiously to the horizon, as if expecting shadows to rise from the ground itself. Gandalf rides at the head of the company, his keen gaze locked on the distant hills. He can sense it, the pull of something deeper than mere war, the subtle hand of treachery at work. The attack on the village was no random act of violence, nor a simple show of Saruman's growing power. There is something more, and then they see it. A break in the hills ahead, a path hidden from sight unless one knew to seek it. A narrow passage winding between two cliffs, vanishing into the darkness beyond. It is a road not often traveled, for those who do rarely return. Éomer slows his horse, his eyes narrowing. "That path leads toward the Dunlending camps," he murmurs. "No Rohirrim would dare ride it at this hour." Gandalf does not turn, his eyes fixed on the passage, which means those we seek do not fear what lies ahead. A silence falls over the company. Then, with a single motion, Gandalf urges Shadowfax forward, disappearing into the shadows of the cliffs. Éomer follows, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. Behind them, the riders tighten their grip on their spears, their war-honed instincts sensing danger lurking ahead. As they move deeper into the passage, the air grows thick. The walls of the cliffs press close, casting unnatural shadows that seem to shift and move as if watching their approach. The scent of damp stone mingles with something fouler, a scent of decay, of something old and long forgotten. Then, without warning, the ground trembles beneath them. A sudden cry pierces the night. One of the riders at the rear of the company jerks in his saddle, his horse rearing back. The others turn in time to see a black shape moving between the cliffs, fast, too fast for the eye to follow. Eomer draws his sword, the sound ringing against the stone walls. "Show yourself," he commands. A deep, guttural laugh echoes through the passage. It is not the sound of an orc, nor the raspy breath of the Dunlendings. It is something else. Then, from the darkness, they come. Figures clad in rags, their faces hidden beneath heavy cowls, moving with unnatural silence. The Dunlendings, but not as they had been before. Their eyes glow with a dull, eerie light, and their hands clutch weapons that shimmer with a dark enchantment. Gandalf's staff flares to life, white light pushing back the gloom. "They are bound to a spell," he murmurs, his voice grim. "Saruman's influence runs deeper than we thought." The Dunlendings do not speak. They rush forward. The battle is swift, yet brutal. The Rohirrim fight with the practiced precision of seasoned warriors, their swords flashing in the narrow space. Horses rear and charge, the sound of hooves striking against stone filling the air. The Dunlendings fight without hesitation, their movements almost unnatural, as if driven by a will not their own. Gandalf moves among them, his staff a beacon of light against the shadows. With each strike, the dark magic binding the Dunlendings weakens, their bodies shuddering as if waking from a long nightmare. Then, as suddenly as it began, the battle ends. The last of the Dunlendings collapses, his breath ragged, his hood falls away, revealing a face lined with pain and exhaustion. "Forgive us," he rasps, his voice hoarse. "We had no choice." Gandalf kneels beside him. "Tell me," he says gently, "what has Saruman done to you?" The man's eyes flicker with sorrow. "He came to us," he whispers, "promised us land, power, vengeance against the Rohirrim." His fingers clutch the ground as if searching for something to hold on to. But his gifts came at a cost. We became his thralls. Gandalf's expression darkens. "And what did he send you here to do?" A silence. Then the man lifts his gaze, fear flashing in his eyes. "The Hornburg," he whispers. "Saruman has gathered an army, but it is not just men he sends. There are creatures, things that should not exist. He has been breeding them in the pits beneath Isengard." Eomer stiffens. "How many?" The man exhales sharply. "Too many." His voice falters. "They march even now." The weight of his words settles over them. Gandalf stands, his gaze turning toward the east. Saruman's army is already in motion. The destruction of the village was but a test, a way to gauge Rohan's strength. The real battle is yet to come. "We ride for Edoras," Gandalf declares, his voice firm. "King Théoden must be warned." Eomer nods. "And we must prepare for war." The riders do not hesitate. They mount their steeds once more, turning toward the road that will lead them back to the heart of Rohan. The survivor, The young boy from the village rides alongside them, his face pale but resolute. As they leave the shadowed cliffs behind, Gandalf's mind remains troubled. There is something more at play, something even Saruman may not fully control. But there is no time to dwell on such thoughts now. Rohan must stand, or it will fall. The battle has yet to begin, but already the echoes of war stir in the distance. The riders gallop under the pale light of a waning moon, leaving behind the haunted shadows of the Dunlending camp. The chilling revelation of Saruman's forces amassing for war weighs heavily upon Gandalf and Eomer as they lead the Rohirrim toward Edoras. The wind rushes through the open plains of Rohan, carrying whispers of a coming storm. The land, usually filled with the songs of birds and the distant bleating of sheep, lies eerily quiet. Even the earth beneath their horses' hooves feels unsettled, as if it too senses the war creeping closer. Gandalf's eyes are sharp, ever watchful as he guides Shadowfax through the rolling grasslands. "We must make haste," he urges. "Time is no longer a luxury we possess." Eomer rides at his side, his expression dark with concern. "If Saruman's army marches for Helm's Deep, we must rally every sword in Edoras." The boy from the ruined village rides in silence, his young face a mask of sorrow and determination. He has lost his home, his family, but he rides onward, determined not to lose his people. Then, out of the quiet, a sound like distant thunder. The company slows. Eomer raises a hand, signaling for caution. The riders halt, scanning the open land around them. The sound grows louder, rhythmic, unnatural. Gandalf listens, his keen senses reading the air. He speaks, his voice low. It is not thunder, it is drums. A murmur ripples through the riders, and then, as if the very land has been waiting for this moment, a figure steps into view on the crest of a distant hill. Cloaked in silver, a tall, slender figure stands beneath the moonlight, their golden hair glistening like woven starlight. An elf. Eomer straightens, his hand gripping his sword's hilt. What trickery is this? But Gandalf's expression softens. He dismounts, stepping forward as the figure approaches. The elf removes their hood, revealing piercing, ancient eyes, the eyes of one who has seen many ages pass and carries the weight of time upon their shoulders. "My Govanen, Mithrandir," the elf greets, their voice smooth as flowing water. "You ride with urgency." Gandalf inclines his head. "As do you, my old friend." The elf nods, then looks past Gandalf, their gaze sweeping over the Rohirrim. "Rohan rides to war," they state, a shadow of sadness in their voice. Eomer frowns. "Who are you?" The elf's gaze meets his. "I am Laeron of Lothlorien, a messenger from the Lady Galadriel. She has seen what comes. The storm gathers, and the free people of Middle-earth must not stand alone." Gandalf's face is unreadable, yet a flicker of relief crosses his features. "Then Lothlorien will aid Rohan?" Laeron shakes their head. "The lady does not command armies, but she offers wisdom and gifts to those who fight against the shadow." They turn, raising a slender hand. From behind the hill, 2 more elves appear, leading a horse draped in silver silk. Upon its back rests a bundle wrapped in fine elven cloth. "The Lady Galadriel sends this," Laeron says, "a gift of knowledge, for knowledge, Mithrandir, is the sharpest blade against darkness." Gandalf approaches, unwrapping the bundle. Within, a set of ancient scrolls, their parchment delicate, yet untouched by time. Runes of old elvish script glimmer under the moonlight. He reads the first lines aloud. "The dark hand of Orthanc, the forging of new sorcery, the corruption of beasts and men." A silence falls over the group. Eomer's jaw tightens. Saruman has been experimenting. Gandalf nods. More than we feared. He is not merely summoning an army, he is creating one. The riders shift uneasily. The thought of creatures beyond orcs and men, warriors twisted by unnatural magic, sends a shiver through them all. Laeron's voice is quiet but steady. Saruman's hand reaches beyond Isengard. He seeks the forgotten arts of Morgoth himself. Gandalf closes the scroll. "Then we must not let him succeed." Laeron places a hand over their heart. "I ride to Rivendell to deliver word to Lord Elrond. You ride for Edoras. Let us hope our roads meet again in victory, not ruin." Gandalf nods. "Safe travels, Laeron." The elf departs, vanishing into the night as swiftly as they had appeared. Gandalf turns to the riders. "We ride on." And so they do, faster than before. Time is slipping away, and war waits for no one. As they gallop toward Edoras, the young boy clutches his reins, staring at the fading figure of the elf. Hope flickers in his eyes, a small, fragile light against the growing darkness. But in war, even the smallest light can turn the tide. And in the heart of Rohan, a king waits to be awakened. The Riders of Rohan thunder through the golden plains, the moon their only witness as they approach Edoras. The white city of the Horse Lords looms before them, its wooden walls standing strong against the darkened sky. Yet within its halls, shadows lurk, not the kind cast by torches, but the unseen weight of doubt and treachery. As the company enters through the great gates, the air is thick with whispers. The guards, once stalwart, now move with hesitation. Some cast wary glances, while others stand rigid, their hands hovering near their weapons. The fear of war is already within these walls. Gandalf rides forward, his piercing gaze sweeping over the men before him. "Take me to your king." A silence lingers, broken only when a guard steps forth, his voice low. The king sees no one. Eomer stiffens beside Gandalf. "No one?" Another guard shifts uncomfortably. "Not unless Grima wills it." The name alone sends a ripple of unease through the gathered riders. Grima Wormtongue, the snake who whispers poison into the ears of kings. Gandalf's expression darkens. "Then it is worse than I feared." Without waiting for permission, the wizard dismounts. Shadowfax lets out a quizzed huff, his silver mane catching the dim light. Gandalf strolls towards the golden hall of Meduseld, his presence commanding yet calm, like a storm waiting to break. The great doors are opened, revealing a hall lined with torches. The air within is stifling, thick with unseen malice. Upon the throne at the far end sits Theoden, King of Rohan, but his once proud shoulders are hunched, his face pale, his eyes clouded. At his side, cloaked in shadow, Grima Wormtongue lurks, his gaze sharp as a vulture's. He speaks before Theoden can, his voice oozing with false courtesy. My lord Theoden is weary. He does not wish to entertain visitors. Gandalf does not pause. He walks forward, his staff striking the stone floor with purpose. The hall's guards shift uneasily, their hands gripping their spears. A tension settles like mist before a storm. Eowyn, standing to the side of the throne, watches with quiet desperation. Her uncle, the mighty king, reduced to this frail shadow of himself. Gandalf stops before the throne, his voice even yet powerful. You will not silence him, Wormtongue. Grima's lips curl, his fingers tightening around his robe. I am but an advisor, my lord. The king speaks for himself. Gandalf's gaze locks onto Theoden, his voice lowering like the deep roots of an ancient tree. My friend, do you know me? Theoden blinks, sluggish and lost. His lips part, but no words come. Grima smirks. You waste your breath, Mithrandir. Gandalf does not answer him. Instead, he raises his staff. The torches flicker wildly. A wind, unseen yet fierce, rushes through the hall. The air crackles with power. Grima stumbles back, hissing in sudden panic. Be gone, foul whispers of the serpent, Gandalf commands. His voice does not boom, nor does it roar. It cuts, precise and undeniable. Theoden gasps, his body trembling as if awoken from a long nightmare. His hands, once frail, now clutch the arms of his throne with strength returning. His back straightens, his eyes clear, the shadows that clung to him like unseen chains shatter. A deep silence fills the hall, and then the king speaks. Gandalf, his voice is hoarse but unmistakable. Grima takes a step back, his expression twisting into something ugly. He sees it, the return of the king. Gandalf smiles, lowering his staff. Yes, my friend, you are free. Theoden exhales sharply, as if breathing fresh air for the first time in years. He looks upon his hands, the strength returning to his fingers. His gaze flicks to Grima, the serpent at his side. How long? Theoden murmurs, his voice gaining weight. Have you spoken poison into my ears? Grima stiffens. My lord, Silence. The king rises. The guards, once hesitant, now stand straighter. The hall seems brighter. The weight of Saruman's whispers begins to fade. Theoden steps down from his throne, his gait slow but sure. He looks upon Eowyn, upon Eomer, and finally upon Gandalf. What must we do? He asks, and Gandalf answers, his voice steady. We ride to war. A murmur spreads through the gathered men. Some hesitate, but others nod. The Riders of Rohan have been asleep for too long. Theoden's jaw tightens. He turns to the guards. Summon my men, ready the horses. We ride for Helm's Deep. The hall erupts into motion. Swords are unsheathed, armor donned. The riders prepare for battle, their king now standing among them, not as a ruler locked in a throne, but as a warrior of Rohan. Grima, sensing his end, slinks toward the shadows, but he does not escape. Theoden's gaze pins him in place. You are banished from this hall, Snake of Isengard. Ride to your master. Tell him the wolves of Rohan no longer sleep. Grima's face twists with hatred, but he knows he is beaten. With a final sneer, he turns and flees into the night. As the doors slam shut behind him, Gandalf exhales, his work done. Rohan is awake, and soon war will come. But for the first time in too long, the people of Rohan stand ready. The golden hall of Meduseld stood illuminated under the soft glow of the rising sun. Dawn had broken over Rohan, casting its first light upon the city of Edoras, where warriors now gathered in solemn preparation. The Riders of Rohan moved with newfound strength, their armor glinting like polished gold, their hearts no longer weighed down by the whispers of doubt. King Théoden, once a shadow of his former self, now stood at the steps of his hall, gazing over his people with a keen, determined gaze. The years that had bent his back and dimmed his sight were now washed away by the truth. He was free, his mind clear, his spirit once more aligned with the strength of his ancestors. At his side stood Gandalf the White, his staff resting gently against the earth, his robes flowing in the soft wind. He had done what he could. The course was now set, and fate would weave its tale upon the fields of Rohan. They are ready, Theoden murmured, more to himself than anyone. Gandalf nodded, his voice warm but firm. They ride not just for battle, but for their home, their families. A kingdom that sleeps too long will find itself consumed by darkness. Today, the riders wake. Theoden exhaled deeply, then turned to face the gathering warriors. My people, he called, his voice carrying over the wind. Rohan has slept long under the weight of grief, but no more. The tide of war is upon us. Let the horns sound. Let our horses run free. We ride to war, not for conquest, but for the survival of our people. If we fall with honor. But I say to you, we shall not fall today. A resounding cheer erupted through the warriors, a sound that rang over the city like rolling thunder. Gandalf stepped forward. Riders of Rohan, look to the east. A storm gathers in the mountains. The great battle will not wait. Ride with speed, and I shall meet you at Helm's Deep. Theoden raised his sword, his eyes set upon the road ahead. Then let us not delay. To horse, to Helm's Deep. The sound of galloping hooves filled the plains of Rohan, the ground trembling beneath the charge of thousands of riders. Their banners snapped in the wind, the emblem of the white horse of Rohan gleaming under the morning light. Gandalf, atop Shadowfax, stood at the peak of a nearby hill, watching as the golden riders disappeared beyond the horizon. He felt the threads of fate tighten. The battle ahead would be unlike any before it. Yet, for now, he allowed himself a moment to breathe. The road was set, and Theoden's strength would carry them through. Behind him, the great hall of Meduseld stood quiet once more. As the riders thundered toward battle, Éowyn stood at the gates of Edoras, watching the dust settle in their wake. Her fingers clutched the fabric of her dress, her heart restless. Though she had not ridden with them, her spirit followed their charge. Beside her, Gandalf turned, his gaze soft. "They will need your strength soon." She met his eyes, uncertainty flickering within them. "Do you think they will return?" Gandalf did not answer immediately. He simply watched the road, the golden plains stretching endlessly before them. Hope is never lost to those who fight for what is right. His voice was calm, yet resolute. There is a fire in the hearts of men, and Rohan's flame has not been extinguished. The road will be hard, but they do not ride alone. Eowyn exhaled softly, turning her gaze to the mountains beyond. Her time had not yet come, but she knew deep in her heart that fate had a path for her as well. For now, she could only wait. Far beyond the lands of Rohan, Saruman sat within the Tower of Orthanc, watching the storm he had crafted begin to rise. The armies of Isengard were already moving. Black banners flew beneath the cold wind, and the ground trembled beneath the marching feet of thousands of Uruk-hai. War machines rolled forward, their iron wheels groaning under the weight of destruction. Saruman's lips curled into a cold smile. The age of men was over, or so he believed. Yet, far to the east, beyond the mountains, a single figure upon a white horse rode faster than the wind itself, carrying the fate of Rohan upon his shoulders. In the halls of Meduseld, the golden fires still flickered, but the sound of laughter and music had faded. A hush had fallen over Edoras. Gandalf, standing at the edge of the great hall, let out a long breath. A storm was coming. He had guided the riders to their course, but the battle was not yet won. Still, as he gazed over the now quiet city, a small flicker of peace settled within him. The shadows had been lifted from Theoden's mind, and Rohan had found its will to fight again. For now, this was enough. He turned away from the view, allowing the quiet hum of the wind to lull him into a brief moment of peace. Somewhere beyond the rolling hills, the horns of Rohan would soon sound once more, and with them, the echoes of war. As the fires burned low in the halls of Meduseld, and the stars shimmered softly over the land of Rohan, let yourself drift into the warmth of this tale. The road ahead may be uncertain, but tonight you may rest, knowing the Riders of Rohan have awakened once more. Close your eyes, let the whisper of the wind carry you through the golden fields. For in Middle-earth, the journey never truly ends. It only waits for the next traveler. Good night, my sleepy fellows.